All right, question 36. The larger of two numbers exceeds 3 times the smaller by 4. The sum of twice the larger and 4 times the smaller is 58. If x is the smaller, which equation can be set to determine x? Okay, so this is a system of equations, right? System of equations. Really, they're giving you two equations, and they're giving you two unknowns. All right, so the two unknowns are larger and smaller. Now they're telling us here that we should use x for the smaller. Okay? So then we can say, well, let's have y be the larger, right? And now we need to come up with our two equations, okay? So as long as these numbers match, we should be able to solve, right? Okay, so starting with this first sentence here, the larger of two numbers, so that is encoded as the letter y, exceeds, all right, whatever that means, 3 times the smaller. So 3 times the smaller would be 3x by 4, right? So now we might not be sure what this whole exceeds it by 4 means. So one nice option that we can use is we can switch to numbers for a moment just to kind of understand the English to math conversion, right? So let's say if we use the number 10, 10 exceeds 7 by how much? Well, I would say that 10 exceeds 7 by 3, right? And how did I calculate that? Well, what I did was I actually subtracted this minus this, right? So now that gives me a clue as to what I need to do here. I need to take the y and I need to subtract the second item, which is 3x. And the result should be 4, okay? So that's our first equation. Now, the second equation is coming from the second sentence. The sum of twice the larger number. So twice the larger number is 2y. The sum of that means add with 4 times the smaller. So 4 times x. Is means equals 58. Right? So now I have these two equations. So normally we'd have sort of two equations as our choices, especially with the SAT. But here they're actually sort of beginning to solve this system, right? So let's see how that goes, right? So in particular, here we have several different ways of solving. We could use elimination method or substitution. From the looks of it, it looks like they're using substitution method, right? And the most obvious variable to isolate for out of these four options would be this y. Really because there's no coefficient in front. So we simply have to take this 3x and move it to the other side of the equals, making it a plus 3x, okay? And that gets rid of this. So we get y equals 4 plus 3x. Then once we've done that, we can then plug this in where we see y, right? So that would go here. So we get 2 times quantity 4 plus 3x plus 4x equals 58. Right? Now we distribute this 2, so that gives us 8 plus 6x plus 4x equals 58. We add these together to get 10x plus 8 equals 58. Subtract the 8. So 10x equals 50. Divide by 10, and x equals 5. Of course, this we didn't actually have to do because they're just asking for the setup, right? So really, we should be good to go from this step right here. So we'll check the choices, and 2 times quantity 3x plus 4 is what we're looking for. So it looks like one of those two, and then plus a 4x. Yeah, it's going to be this. Members of the fire department lean a 26-foot ladder against the building. So there's the building, here's a ladder that's leaning against it, and here's the floor. The ladder is 26 feet long. Perpendicular level says that the base of the ladder, that's the bottom of the ladder, is 10 feet away from the base of the building, the bottom of the building. So this measurement is 10 feet. To the nearest foot, how far up the building does this ladder reach? So we're looking for this. Okay, so we have a right triangle here, and we're missing one side. So we can use Pythagorean Theorem. We have to be careful to use the correct sides in the correct positions. So most importantly is that the 26 kind of goes by itself here. So we get x squared plus 100 equals whatever this is, but instead of just crunching the numbers here, I'm going to actually show a shortcut. So the shortcut is, if you remember, we have two different ones we should memorize, 3, 4, 5, and 5, 12, 13. And if you memorize those, you realize also that any multiple of those would also work as a Pythagorean triple. So in particular here, if I double each option here, I'll end up with 10, 24, 26. So you notice the 10 and the 26 are already accounted for, so the missing number would have to be the 24. Choice E. A square is circumscribed about a circle of a 5-foot radius as shown below. What is the area of the square in square feet? So, the area of a square formula is simply side squared, right? A lot of people say length times width, but really for a square has a special property that they're each equal to each other. So we just call that S, and S gets squared. Okay. So the question then becomes, what is this side length right here? And well, since this measurement is 5, the entire measurement across we would expect to be another 5, so that would be 10. So the side length is 10. We simply have to square that number. We end up with 100. The ratio of side lengths for a triangle is exactly this. Okay, so whenever you see a ratio of this format, what I always do is I always put x's after each item. 7x, 11x, 13x. In a second triangle similar to the first, the shortest side is 9 inches long. Okay, so the shortest side for this other one is 9. To the nearest tenth of an inch, what is the length of the longest side? So this is what we're looking for. And with all similar triangles, of course, we can set up proportions. So we actually don't need this information. Alright, and we're going to set our proportion equal here. So we're solving for question mark, so we can actually do a couple things, but let's cross multiply, because we're probably used to that type of option. 9 times 13x, and then we'll divide by 7x. So that solves for question mark. Then from here, we notice that the x's are going to cancel out. Whoops. So these x's cancel out, right? And then we just have to combine those numbers. So let's grab the calculator. Alright, and we'll do 9 times 13. Divide that by 7. We get 16.7. Choice C. In the figure below, ABCD is a trapezoid. E lies on line AD, and angles are measured as marked. What is the measure of angle CDB? Right, CDB. So they want to know this angle right here. Okay, so one thing we know about trapezoids is that they have sort of parallel bases, right? And so we've got what appears to be parallel lines cut by a transversal. So we know that that forms two sets of equal angles, where these are small, okay, and then the ones next to it are going to be the big ones. All the smalls equal all the bigs, right? In particular, this small equals this small. These are called alternate interior angles, right? So in this picture, we can see that this angle is alternate interior with this, okay? So this is going to be 25 degrees. That's our first piece of logic that we need. Now the next piece of logic is that whenever we have a straight line, okay, that is a measurement of 180 degrees, because as you can see, it's half a circle, right? And we know that a full circle would be 360. So anytime you start on a line and end on a line, the total is 180, right? So here, right, I could draw an arc which starts and ends on the same line. So that arc must contain 180 degrees. Now that 180 degrees has to be composed of 25 plus question mark plus 100. So that's 125 plus question mark equals 180. We then subtract 125, and we end up with question mark equals what looks like 55 degrees. Okay, choice H. In the figure shown below, each pair of intersecting line segments meet at a right angle, and all the lengths are given in inches. What is the perimeter of the figure? Okay, so pretty much we need to figure out like this missing pieces here. Like we don't know the value of this, which can be quite tedious. But fortunately, there's actually an easier way. So as long as everything is at right angles, we can use the following trick. So what we do is we simply move everything out to meet the furthest edge, right? So basically we make the biggest possible box that we can make out of this, and that box is going to have the same perimeter as our original figure, okay? So we just need to figure out its dimensions. So we know that the width here is 14, and we just need a measurement on the height. So it looks like this height is 5, and then this height is 4, and then this height is 3. 5 and 4 is 9, 9 and 3 is 12. So it looks like the total height here is 12. And of course it'll be the same 12 on the other side, and this bottom will be the same 14 as we have up top. So we have 14, 14, 12, and 12. We have to add them together. 4 and 4 is 8, 2 is 10, 2 is 12. Then we have 5 ones, so we're getting 52 for the perimeter.